Welcome to the Embrace the Turn Up podcast. Cultural commentary from two guys who want all the smoke. All the smoke. And now your hosts, A-Dub and John.
But enough about alcohol, BA. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Embrace the Turn Up podcast. You know the fucking vibes by now. It's your boy A-Dub, the pod god, the pod tribal chief, if you will, the final dub. And I know, guys, I know you want to talk about Drake and you want to talk about the P. Diddy situation. But in the words of a lot of rappers, especially our homie Jay-Z, we're going to let that bitch breathe a little bit. We'll get to that next week. This week, joining me, I got the homie BA, because we talking money. And if I'm talking money, there's nobody else in my phone that I'm going to call other than this man right here. BA, what's popping, my brother?
Dub, always a pleasure. I don't have to talk the graps, even though I love talking them graps. But anytime we can talk money, man, you know I'm in the building, man. But it's BADBIC. If you listen to this, you listen to Let Me Book the Territory. This is a prerequisite. AKA Black IRS, AKA for this evening, B.A. Rosenhaus, because I am with the Dub Strassmore. We out here, tag team back again, ready to give y'all all the insiders info on what is happening in sports and business and how y'all should be knowing what's going on. So y'all could probably try to make a buck off of this one day. So yeah, right, man. Guys. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man. That's right. When I said money, we talking sports money, because in the span of the last couple of years, money has come into sports in a way that I don't think we've ever seen before, and probably never will again, unless, again, something crazy happens. But I want to start right here with gambling in sports. Now, I'm pretty sure last time you were on, we talked about this a little bit, or it might have been off mic or in the group chat, but this is another Dub was right moment. Sports gambling, guys, is coming to your television. The NBA is looking at putting sports gambling live on their direct packages that you purchase from them through NBA TV. So, for example, you can look at a game and you can bet the under or the over right there on the app, and you'll have live odds changing as the game goes on. BA, is this a good decision? Is this a bad decision? Is this money?
It's definitely money. That's no question. It's all money, baby, if BA's in the building. But anyways, it's coming when it comes to this. I think some people will kind of try to pull the morality card, but we talking gambling. Keep that shit outside. Like, this has like the separation of church and state discussion. Like, this is gambling. It's legal. It's not like we're talking about something that isn't been put in place to happen already. So outside of that, when it comes to watching your sports, I think it enhances the experience. Like, for people that gamble, people that don't gamble, it just confuses them because they already are starting to flirt with this kind of stuff in sports. Like, I'm watching the Cavs earlier today at my in-laws' house, and you can see the difference, like the line change as the game's happening. And people know it right there. Now you can't bet like ESPN is talking, but the seeds are being planted already as we speak, to your point of this discussion. So yeah, and then it creates a discussion where people who don't know gambling, because they think it has something to do with the score. I had some people think that, and I'm like, no. That's not like telling you, like doing the math for you between the difference of the score. They're just telling you the line, like if it's under 1 + 2, whatever it is. And as the game flows, that line changes. They're like, oh, Brian, you're a degenerate gambler. Shh, don't worry about that. Anyways.
Like, no, yes. Motherfucker, I just know math.
Exactly. I talk about money all day, man. What do you want from me? Of course, understand how sports betting would work to a certain degree. Now, I'm no shark, but I know how it works. Like, come on now. But yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, like, I think it's going to be interesting. I think the NBA on their app, this is going to be a test study to see, one, like how the app works, just technology wise, and two, how much money they're going to make. Because if the NBA reports that they pull in a couple $100 million, I promise you this will be on your NFL telecast.
Oh yeah, if it ain't already being discussed, because
it'll be on your preseason games.
Oh yeah, make them bitches entertaining outside of just the glorified practices. Those are. I hate preseason football.
I know.
I know. Oh.
I know. Your team went undefeated in preseason, defeated in season.
Oh God, yeah, you did. Yeah, okay, you can bring it up. I'm about to say like you had to bring that up, but y'all had the same fate too. So
same fate.
Yeah,
it was like,
enough.
we undefeated in the preseason. It's
right.
about to be our year.
We the best practice team ever. Little did we know.
I remember when it happened to y'all, because I had caught one of y'all preseason games. I was like, bro, we're pretty good. What's the record in the preseason? Oh, undefeated? Ooh.
Yeah.
This ain't going to end well.
Hugh Jackson, folks. The only games he won here in preseason. Not even cap. But yeah, man. But when it comes to this sports betting, I want to ask you this. Since ESPN is looking, they are committed to this. Are they going to have their own? Is this going to be available through the ESPN app? Or are they going to partner? They're not going to partner up with somebody else, right?
So the way it's working right now with the NBA thing, they're doing it. The NBA is doing it directly themselves.
Okay.
And the NBA is going to pull in a partner to do it. I'm not sure which one of the sports books they're going to align with. I think that's going to be a very interesting question too, because a few of their owners own casinos.
Yep.
So,
sure do.
Sounds like a conflict of interest to me, but.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, and knowing what I know about conflicts of interest, they're only a conflict if you don't disclose it. So I'll just leave it at that. If there's a disclosure of it saying, hey, this could be happening or is happening, as far as like these two businesses kind of laying not in bed with each other, but kind of next to each other, money falling out of crevices into other crevices that may align with other businesses. So yeah, man.
Right. Yeah. Well, to answer your question, so ESPN's partnership is through Penn Gaming. Penn Gaming,
that's Michigan.
Yeah, so
they're
Penn
tied
Gaming,
into Detroit.
They had bought Barstool, and when they sold it back, part of the reason they were selling it back was to get into bed with ESPN. So now all the Barstool sports books are gonna, if they haven't already, they're gonna turn into an ESPN book. So
that
when
motherfucker
ESPN
Dave
launches
Portnoy.
this, yeah, he bought Barstool back for $1.
I know. I see why he bought it back now. That motherfucker. Anyways,
smart man.
Man.
So like when ESPN launches this, because guys, we're not talking theoreticals anymore. This is a win statement. When this happens, ESPN is going to go through Penn Gaming. Now, what I'm wondering is, are they going to integrate Penn Gaming into their own app, or are they going to launch an ESPN Bet app that you just log into, with your ESPN credentials, and you watch the game and you bet there, to kind of separate it from those who just want to watch their sports or watch Stephen A. argue versus those who just like, I need to gamble, brother.
I need my fix, brother.
I need my over-unders right now.
I need my parlay. The parlay.
Can I bet $1 rather than make this next shot? So that's one of my big questions. I kind of wonder, like, are they going to get into the micro pays, like the micro betting? Because when you're running an app through your phone, you can micro pay to get some coins, micro pay to do this quicker, blah 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 blah. Are they gonna like have it pop up on your screen? Bet $1 to win $1.50 that, I don't know, Jared Allen will get the next rebound. Something like that.
I could see it, not initially, but at some point in time, as technology continues to improve. I had this smart brother really kind of open my eyes up in a client conversation at work. This client I just onboarded, we were talking about technology, oddly enough, and this gentleman was a retired art teacher of all things, and this was really told me like, this guy knows his stuff. We were talking about 6G, right? So he said these cars won't have the ability to start really driving on their own until 6G is created. And I was like, that's crazy that you even say that. And he said, well, 6G is like the key for like everything kind of changing into what we've seen growing up around technology and stuff. So the reason I bring that up, not rambling, but the fact that that technology is like there to be right at our grasp, if not already grasped on the low, and ain't just been brought out to public yet. Mm-hmm. Like holographic television and stuff like that. That's why I bring that up. Like holograms and stuff like that. That's going to be how we watch TV soon. Like, I'm not even capping there. Think about how crazy our TVs are now. And the technology that we are watching it through isn't even able to really maximize like a 4K TV the way it should be yet. So once that catches up with itself, that's when you're going to start to see these more interactive things happening on your television. Like kind of like how when you go to the hotel and you can like this all this interactive stuff that around, like not just how it used to be where you get the little interactive lobby stuff. Now you can like you got Netflix, you got Hulu to that point, all your streaming services. If you brought your game system, it's ready to swoop up. You don't gotta go in the back of the TV and do any weirdness anymore in hotel TV, because hotel TVs are weird for video game systems. Shout out to those that know. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's right there. And that's gonna be a big enticement for people to wanna get into it, gamble. It's gonna create a lot of new gamblers as well. I don't know if we've even thought about that yet because of the convenience of it all.
Oh no, that's something I've thought about. I thought about it more of like as far as the addiction thing goes. Like, because I mean, what we're seeing in like this newer generation, and guys, don't worry, I'm gonna get a little off topic here, but just follow me, follow this road.
We here.
This newer generation, the levels that they have of substance abuse and alcohol abuse are like the lowest they've been in decades. But they're trading that in for being addicted to their screens and addicted to like these games, especially these mobile games, where like, you know, they'll spend the money to like micropay and do things like that. And like,
oh yeah,
and you see a lot of people like they're betting a lot of money, not a lot of money, but they're betting here and there on a lot of parlays. Because I mean, you can spend $1 on DraftKings and you can do like 45 different parlays.
Yep.
I think that's what you're going to start seeing, is you're going to see a lot more people really addicted to, I mean, truthfully, they're establishing their goal of getting people back to the TV.
There you go. Absolutely.
That is their goal. I mean,
absolutely,
some of it's going to be
man.
Addiction, and like, it is what it is. But again, they don't care.
No, they're not here. They're not. I mean, they've made it obvious. Like, they are not, like, capitalism is not set up for our safety and health, so to speak. We were talking off mic about it earlier, around just how, like, if you are a millennial and on, even the boomers, because they were kind of like the real, like, kind of pilot period of that. Like, we were advertised. We are products of this country. We all are. Look at how we all move and how we think. And with that being said, when it comes to getting us back in front of the TV, like, nothing easier than something that's already tied into something we're already low-key addicted to already, which is our phones. And to the point of, like you said, people are addicted less to substances these days because it's so much easier to find what a substance gives you through what a dopamine hit of a notification on IG or somebody looking at something, what it does for you, and you just mindlessly seek that out all day. Like, that's the addiction thing ain't going away in this country. And to that point, sorry to get us back off of that topic, this ain't gonna help it. But
no, not
they
at
don't
all.
care.
Because sports are going to become slot machines.
Oh yeah, man, and it's crazy.
If you study slot machines, you know they are designed to give you dopamine hits.
Yeah, man, it's the algorithms, and that's to the point of what you said with the mobile games and the little micro pay stuff. Is they let you win on your own for so long, and then the game is set up. The AI, the algorithm in it is set up to be like, nah, dog, you're not gonna pass this level until you put your debit card information in and start paying to play this game, or just stop playing it.
And so, let me throw something at you. And you know, guys, if you use this, I want my check. Can you imagine you watching a game on Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. The betting app is there. You can bet on the line or not. On the side, it has your fantasy football team and their stats.
Oh yeah, for your ESPN, whoever buys Yahoo next. Yeah, because those are the big players in that, and it might get people into fantasy football. Then these casinos might get tied into fantasy football.
Boom.
That's wild.
Boom. And now they got you captive watching your television again versus watching your fantasy football stats because it's right there on your television.
Shoot, you see that at the NFL stadium now. When you go to a football game,
yep,
they got your top fantasy performers of the day. Everybody check their phone. I know when I go to watch my Browns and I see that, I'm like, because I don't pull my phone out for real when I be at games. I'm trying to take in the experience.
Yeah. And
I'm like, oh shit, let me see what my fantasy team's doing because I'm at an actual football game. My fantasy team's in flames because I've been in a muni lap for 4 hours. As it's been going up in smoke. So yeah, man, to that point, it's crazy. And the casinos are going to blow up too. It's going to speak to just more casinos as well because they're kind of spread out right now in the U.S., I'd say. I know we get a lot of listeners, shout out to the Mumbai Hive, that aren't in the U.S. when it comes to casinos. But when it's gonna they're gonna finally have the means to take this across the country. Now it's gonna be hard, and your Bible Belt areas and stuff where this type of stuff is more frowned upon because it's more.
They got casinos down there.
Oh, really? Like all throughout, like your Kansas, your Missouri, your Oklahomas, like your traditional Bible Belt states. That's going down.
Oklahoma has casinos, and I'm pretty sure Kansas does too.
And I know they have a lot of Native American casino, like reservation casinos as well, towards those areas as well. And I don't know too much about how those casinos work. I've never visited one, so I can't speak on it.
There's 6 casinos in Oklahoma. I just Googled it.
So with that said, man, that's gonna just blow up, and it's just
there are 3 in Kansas City.
That's wild. So
you know, some place where sports betting isn't legal.
You said isn't.
That is surprising.
It's not. Where?
California.
Because they probably figure Nevada's a quick trip away. Like, go get your fix down 2 hours away, wherever you're coming from. It's not that far away in California.
I thought that was interesting when I found that out.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting, but it's the equivalent of why Ohio held out for so long, because they told us to go to Michigan or go to Pennsylvania or Indiana. Like, it's literally West Virginia. Every single state around us pretty much had gambling before us. We are always late to the party, though.
But I guess who's the they that would tell you that?
Is
it just the people that didn't want gambling in the state?
It's the politicians, and it's the people that want to own these casinos. It's like making a good sandwich. If it don't mix well, if it don't make well, they're not gonna play ball. It's to the point of why, and this is another subject, and we'll get back on the sports business, but why marijuana took so long to become recreationally legal in Ohio.
Well,
because
a lot of the marijuana thing still has to do with like coded racism.
To that point, yes, Ohio tried to do it like in 2016, but the way they did it was all wrong because it was like a monopoly kind of setup. They weren't trying. Yeah, it wasn't trying to be smart about it to that point. But to your point, yeah, there is coded racism within that. Because
you know what? To that same point, I remember when the casinos were on the ballot, that was their same argument points of crime, blah 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 blah, and all I heard was racism. It was like when Batman was talking in that movie, The Element. I was like, you mean niggas, don't you? Just say niggas. You mean niggas.
They called it The Element. That shit dark as fuck. That's so wrong.
And they was talking the same way about that ballot, and I was like, wait, why aren't there casinos here? What the fuck? That's weird.
It don't make no sense, man. Like, but the gambling's so crazy now, like, and so fruitful. You got players risking it all, like, or at least allegedly.
So let me ask you this question, BA. Before a couple weeks ago, did you know that Michael Porter Jr. had a brother in the NBA?
No,
I didn't.
No. At all.
All right, I'm gonna put you in a situation here.
All
BA,
right.
You work for DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to track betting irregularities. You see that someone just put $100,000 on the Jonte Porter unders. Are you flagging that immediately or what?
I think if I'm looking at irregulars, I'd consider that an irregular unless somebody just became a millionaire and they really got a strong, like...
Bench player averaged 2.7 points a game.
And they went the under, you said? On the 100?
And somebody's putting $100,000 on the under.
I mean, they know that kid's really going to not play or be terrible. Like
okay, so you're giving it a little bit of bail here. All right.
A little bail. I have to because
people put $1,000 on his unders.
Okay, yeah, that's a red flag. Okay, that's a red flag. Because one guy, yeah, that's just somebody being funny. And people got money like that to where they can try to come up.
People do stupid shit with their money all the time.
Facts. That's how heroes are made. And also legends are born and all that fun stuff. But also idiots exist too. It's from that type of behavior. So choose wisely.
100,000 on the unders for a guy who gets like 4 minutes a game.
That's wild.
Red flags everywhere. And then he hits it. So then the next game coming up, same irregularities come through.
Of course.
Bunch of people betting on the unders on this guy. Wait a minute. What? Now he's coming out of the game because I hurt? Oh, no. Get Adam on the phone. Get Adam on the phone. Hello?
Get Adam on the phone.
So, I don't even know where to start with this one. All right, first question. Do you think Jonte Porter is involved?
I mean, the whole eye injury thing, if there was no contact, 1,000%. Yes. No questions. How? How's your eye hurting, bro? You got allergies or something?
Yeah, like re-aggravated an eye injury. What?
You have to play to get injured.
What?
To re-aggravate
did you rub
something.
your eye too hard? Like, what
right,
the fuck
exactly.
Are we talking about?
Right. So with
and
that,
then I forget what the other game that he pulled himself out of.
That's wild.
To hit that under again. As I sip my high noon, you guys should sponsor me by now.
Delicious.
Phenomenal. If you're the NBA, and you have live betting coming to your app next season, so public trust is vital for you.
Yeah.
If you find out he's involved or you can't disprove his involvement, do you ban him forever?
Oh, Pete Rose's ass? Shit, I think you kind of have to. That's what. But
we're talking about potentially billions of dollars on the line.
Anytime you throw the word billions and trust into play, like you gotta play right. You gotta play ball. You can't.
Public trust is something that all these leagues value and what this whole thing is built on.
It's like customer service in any other business. Like you're nothing without your customers. Like to the point of why these leagues hedge so hard. And years ago when all the Black Lives Matter movement bled into sports, like these owners got nervous, man. They can't, because you can't control that kind of stuff. Like once one thing, and then you get people like, I don't want it in my sports, and that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, these owners don't like that kind of stuff.
And guys, let me explain to you why public trust is so important to these leagues and to these casinos. Because if public trust is lost and people begin on like a massive scale to believe that games are fixed, then you can't gamble on it anymore. As you guys know, we host the greatest professional wrestling podcast in the world. You can't gamble on professional wrestling because the outcomes are fixed.
Yet.
You can get into free play pools for like chances to win money, but that's not technically gambling.
Right.
The reason you can't gamble is because the outcomes are predetermined, thus meaning you could swing money so many ways by just having a phone conversation with the right person. Truthfully, if gambling on wrestling was legal, you can listen to Let Me Book the Territory episodes every Friday and become a billionaire in days.
We'd be like insiders, man. Like,
yeah. Like the moment gambling on wrestling becomes legal, I'm quitting my jobs and I'm working for DraftKings.
We would have to completely change how our shows brought to people. Like, we not giving that away for free no more. That's behind a paywall. If when that day comes, it's straight. Like, our podcast will be like 20 minutes long. Like, to hear the other 45 minutes, $5 for Patreon. Like, come
because
on now.
They'll probably make it back watching SmackDown.
Hell yes, and then some.
What, you want to hear Dub's level up bets for the week?
That dude that sold it to Hulu would love that segment. He might come in and try to sponsor us himself, or gal, whoever sold that to Hulu.
So guys, if you're wondering, that is why public trust is so important, and why when these things are found out, these leagues have to act with a super heavy hand, regardless of if people think it's too heavy. They have to come down on it. Speaking of leagues coming down, Shohei Ohtani. I think the league got to him and made him change his story.
I laugh because I just think about, like, somebody, our Instagram page is shared. Somebody acting like him making it as if like a Shinsuke Nakamura promo of him saying, "I speak no English." That's why I was like, yo, that is wrong, but fucking hilarious. Like, to continue, I had to get that out there.
Oh, that's funny. So for those of you guys who don't know, it was found out that Shohei Ohtani's translator, who he's known for 10 years, was in debt to some illegal bookmakers in California because, again, sports gambling is not legal in California. To a debt to the tune of $4.5 million.
Oh man, it's like Keanu and Hardball.
It was found out that this debt was paid from Shohei Ohtani's accounts. The initial story was that the translator got into some trouble with gambling. I mean, you know, we all have our vices. His was gambling. It wasn't on baseball. It was on college football and NBA. And the original story was that Shohei said, "I'm going to help my mans out, pay off his debt for him." What I believe happened is that the commissioner of baseball was like, "No, the fuck you didn't. Absolutely not. He stole from you." That's the story you're running with, and that's the story you're going to stick with. And then he got on stage and was like, "Yeah, he's been stealing from me for years, blah, 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 blah." BA, let me ask you this question. You sign a contract for $700 million like Shohei did. Your best friend from 10 years, you got 4.5 for him, right? To help him out?
Like it's nothing.
And they thought, but, okay, so your best friend of 10 years doesn't have access to your accounts though, right?
He shouldn't. He's just, especially in this case, because he's your translator, like, you really trust him, right? So right. I still am not giving that guy access to my accounts. Sorry, translator. So the lie that they came up with is worse bullshit than the story that Shohei and his translator initially told people. I didn't catch the story. Let me hear the what they actually fed him to say, because I know what they actually fed him to say is that this translator has been stealing from me for years. He had access to my accounts because I don't speak this language natively, and he's been helping me out for 10 years. He's been stealing from me, and he no longer works for me or the Dodgers or blah, 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 blah. Investigations ongoing. I can't say anything else. That's pretty foul. But baseball's history with gambling, from the Black Sox to Pete Rose to them just being scared of every fucking thing, kind of put them in this situation where I guarantee you Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, called up the Dodgers and was like, "Hey, no, that's not how this is going down at all. Not booking it this way, brother. Let me tell you something here, Jack." His full Hulk Hogan voice. "It's not going to work for me, brother." They're like, "Rod, why do you sound like that?" "Listen, brother, it's not going to work for me." Right. "Why do you keep calling me brother?" "Because it's not going to work for me, brother." So, no, man, that speaks to just foul corruption in baseball. To that being said, baseball is one of those sports because it's such a methodical, slow sport, and then it gets these bursts of excitement. It's very easy to manipulate things in that sport. And to your point of public trust earlier,
Gotta protect it.
this is exactly. You gotta protect the brand. This is protecting the shield, so to speak. To the point where they're gonna make Shohei Ohtani look incompetent as hell, and make him look like an idiot essentially, to protect the whole game at that point. Because I was like, for him doing that just makes him look stupid. But at the same token, Rob Manfred's probable point where he probably made that call, your boy should have been known better to even let that guy around sports gambling, knowing what he does for him. But the Dodgers always have stuff like this happen, though. I feel like, man, they have controversial stuff happen all the time. They buy their
LA,
players.
Baby. It's showtime, baby.
Them in New York, man. New York kind of keeps it cleaner though these days, but LA always is always got some shit going on like this, to call it what it is.
Hollywood, baby. Tell the story. Shout out to Dusty Rose, man.
Tell the story, baby. Yeah, bro. So I don't. It's sad, but it's par for the course that is like these leagues, man. Like you've seen similar things in all the leagues, I'd say, because it was the NFL. You had, what was it, Calvin Ridley was homeboy's name?
Calvin Ridley got suspended for a whole year. I
feel bad.
He
for
bet
how
he bet on his own team though.
He
do
was
well while he was injured.
Right, and he thought he was trying to do like a attaboy type stuff. Like, this is how I mess with y'all, but he just not knowing the game. Again, I blame his agent. I blame his agent. I blame these agents. I blame these handlers, because what are y'all getting paid for? Like, y'all supposed to be up on game, not just eating off of these dudes because you chose to be their friend for all these years because you knew that a bag was coming. So there's that part of it too.
They got the Lions, not Jahmyr Gibbs. Fuck. I can never remember football players' names outside of the season. It's very weird.
I understand. It's not the news cycle.
Jameson Williams. They got him for initially 8 games because apparently he had placed a bet on, I want to say baseball, like from the team facility. So you can't. So NFL players are allowed to gamble on other shit, but you can't place bets in the team facility, on the team plane, or like at team events. From what I read, he was in like the trainer's room or something, like, because he was rehabbing his broken ankle, I believe.
Bored.
Yeah, bored. Sit on the trainer's table, place a couple bets, and they were like, 8 games, and they were like,
that sucks.
And then after all the outrage and stuff, they shortened it to 4 because, that's what the fuck happens to the Lions. Some crazy rule happens and it only fucking damages the Lions before they're like, oh, yeah, we should probably change this. Oh, should you now? Oh, word?
You think?
Oh, only after it hurts us. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Got it, guys. But that's just me being a salty Lions fan.
Hey, man, coming from a salty Browns fan, I get it. I understand. We haven't had to deal with that yet, but there's still time.
Let me ask you this question, BA, before we get off of gambling here. Do you think this is a bubble? As my financial guy who knows bubbles, do you think this is a bubble, or is this something that's going to get past bubble status to be, I don't know what happens, something past bubble status?
That is the only thing that when it gets past bubble status, I mean, that bitch popped and there's a fallout and all sorts of heads falling and getting cut off from this. But I'll say this, because there's so much money to be made from it. Nah, this ain't a bubble yet. There's still players to get involved. There's still rules to be made from it. There's still guidelines to be drawn from it. There's still access to be granted to it. There's a lot that still has to happen with this. I think we still, if anything, we're still in the groundswell of it all because of all the things we've discussed up until this point. As far as the possibilities it's going to open up from a casino, sports league standpoint, more cities might get sports teams because of this, dog. Like, there's so many domino effects. And
everybody
things
stayed out of Vegas for a long time. Once it
all
started
of a sudden, all of a sudden, right?
Vegas Knights, Vegas Aces.
Vegas is all of a sudden this sports mecca. Like, what? Because you can gamble there now. Right. And
the
players
team that LeBron's going to own is going to be there.
Not the Cavs? Damn it. No. I've heard similar rumors.
I'm sure LeBron wouldn't mind buying into the Cavs, but him and Dan Gilbert got a weird relationship.
And that's why I think it's even more weird because we are both black men here, Dub, and I know if a white man said the things that he said about me in the city that I played in, that's right down the street from where I grew up at, for him to come back here, there was something done outside of what was reported for him to come back. There's an ownership stake. I'm telling you, bruh. When him and Rich Paul are co-owners of the Cavs, don't you heard it here first. Okay. But with that being said, I could see LeBron owning a Vegas team as well. I could see it.
You can't own two. You can't own two teams.
Well, I'm saying like he would like sell his stake or something. I mean, Jordan was in the Wizards organization and he in the Hornets now. That's what I'm saying. Like he can pivot and play different aspects of it.
Okay. I mean, truthfully, if I were him, I would get it on that Vegas team because, and no offense to my Cleveland friends, everybody knows, love Cleveland, big fan, huge fan. But that Vegas team is coming in, and they're gonna build a new arena for them. And I think that's the next big thing in sports as far as trying to find new revenue streams. But yeah, you know all about it. You got to find new ways to make money.
Yep.
The new way to make money,
milk that cow,
is to not only own your stadium, but to own all the land around it and turn it into a district.
Oh, like Jerry's land, aka the Dallas Stadium. How I heard that's set up.
Yes, like Jerry's World. The big new one is the Deer District in Milwaukee, which is everything basically across the street from that is all owned by the Bucks. And instead of it just being restaurants, now it's restaurants, it's hotels, it's apartments, it's everything to make that entire district just a walk. You know, you're walking around your little district, and the Bucks play tonight. Cool. See if there are any seats left. Boom. All right. Wait, let me make my DraftKings bet on it. Boom. That's the next boom in sports. So as a Cavs fan, do you think this is something that's viable in Cleveland, where the Cavs play now?
Because they put so much money in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. As I think about around, it's possible, man. I'm gonna. This is me just trying to be the good old Cleveland kid that I am, and glass half full. There's a lot of empty buildings around Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Outside of where the Cleveland Guardians play, Progressive Field, there's just a lot of nothing going on outside of Tower City, which is the mall that's connected to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Yep. And that mall used to be somewhat of a center of town, so to speak, or where a lot of people congregate, a lot of things happen in that mall. But as we know, where malls have gone in this country, that ain't it no more. So outside of that, man, you could possibly set up a district like that where they just buy out all these buildings and either destroy them and make them what they want them, or they just put lipstick on the pig. That is these old ass buildings. So there's a lot that can be done with that. But now, will Cleveland do it? Probably not, because we never do anything in this city that makes sense in that regard. We got an old ass infrastructure to our city, man. Anybody that's listening to this and has been in Cleveland or knows Cleveland understands that, because when you look at the other cities in Ohio, like a Columbus, for example, their sports teams probably could be able to do what we're discussing here, because there's nothing but open ass land out that way. Mm-hmm. Right. And then on the other side of it, we haven't even talked about it yet. The Cleveland Browns, like they're talking about getting a new stadium away from the other sports teams.
I was going to ask you this question.
Yep.
As a Cleveland sports aficionado,
Yes, sir.
Would you rather the Browns move somewhere in the suburbs and develop a whole district around it, or would you rather them still be close to the other two teams in the city?
Nah, get out. And there's a history. I say that with love. Because the original time when the Browns left Cleveland, they left because Art Modell, the former owner of the Browns and Ravens, fuck him. Anyways, he didn't get a new stadium when what is now Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse for the Cavs was originally Gund Arena when it first got built, because the Cavs used to play out in Richfield, Ohio, which is out by Akron, middle of nowhere. And then you have the Guardians, or the Indians, former Indians, when that stadium was open right after Gund Arena, was at that point in time Jacobs Field. Where they used to play at before was where the Browns played at, Cleveland Municipal Stadium. They shared that stadium. So when Art Modell saw, oh, y'all building the Indians a stadium and the Cavs a stadium, but I still got to play in this old ass motherfucker. And oh yeah, I'm in debt trying to get a team on the field and I'm using credit cards to pay Andre Rison. I'm out this bitch. But there was speculation where he was trying to get the team into the suburbs, the same vicinity. I'm not going to say the same suburb, but the same side of town that the Browns are looking at now, which is being out by where their facility is on the west side of Cleveland. So I say that because this was the original goal and they can kind of make this to the point of what we were talking about. There's more options out that way to where they could make a more of a district type of vibe around the new stadium out there.
A legitimate dog pound, if you will.
That would be beautiful, because what's been the dog pound, and I'm sure my Browns fans understand, that's not the dog pound, y'all. That wasn't the dog pound that my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, my great aunts and uncles sat in and threw snowballs with batteries in them, or batteries with snowballs covered up at fucking Terry Bradshaw in the 70s and Franco Harris and shit. So yeah, there's a whole history around that specific to Cleveland. I'm glad I'm from here, live here. I know all about it, ins and outs of it. But you're going to see a lot of that in other cities similar to a Cleveland in the Midwest, where we're not a big market city. If there's space, it'll be acquired. If the city cares enough about that sports team, that's a whole nother discussion too, Doug. Because in Cleveland, all the parking has dramatically gone up around all of the sports venues and downtown.
Oh, I've noticed.
Yeah, yes. And it's because our mayor, who's just brand new a couple years ago, decided to do this. And he's not a big fan of, because another thing the Browns was trying to do on the low before they said it was about to move out and build this new stadium, it was trying to get the city to pay into updating the old stadium, the stadium that we have now. And the city was like, no, fuck that. Absolutely not. It's a privately owned company. Y'all figure it out. So
what's funny about that is that, like, the city said no versus just putting it to a vote.
Yeah, because it's not like in Green Bay. I'm glad you brought that up. Green Bay owns the Packers. The city of Green Bay, the citizens own the Packers. That's where something like that would get put to a vote.
No, but my point was, like, they said no to even putting it on the ballot because, like, I think they were worried about maybe hurting their base because they know how rabid Browns fans are, that they might just vote yes.
Oh yeah,
you get what I'm saying? So, like,
absolutely,
if you're a politician that, like, runs on the platform of cutting spending, but you allow something like that to get to the ballot, you hurting yourself with your base a lot because they just gonna vote yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
You would, but then also though, you run into the conundrum of all your fans don't live in the city of Cleveland, which ain't fair to the people that actually got to deal with that tax bill. So it's tough, man, when you don't own, the city doesn't own the team. And that's such a rarity that the Packers do that. I love that the city owns that team. Like, that's dope as hell. I wish more cities could do stuff like that, but it's too much politicking tied into sports teams, unfortunately. To that point, politicking is money.
Too much money.
Too much, man. So, but yeah.
I just thought it was interesting because, like, you look at Detroit, like, Detroit had like a real movement to bring the Pistons back home. They saw what bringing the Lions from Pontiac back to the city did for the city, and they were like, well, we're going through this renewal period already. let's get the Pistons here and let's get them all within 2 miles of each other, and then let's develop around it. And that's what they did versus like putting a whole district around like a team. I've been to Cardinal Stadium in Arizona, and they have kind of a similar thing where like it's just a district and ain't nothing else out there at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's highway, Cardinal Stadium, and that whole district. And I was like, hey, that's the dopest shit in the world. Every team should do this except for mine, because I want my teams in the fucking city.
That's how Foxborough is for the Patriots too. Like that
Yeah.
shit's in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
So they could definitely do some shit like that. But then you got a Buffalo. Like Buffalo sits like right in the neighborhood. Like their stadium sits like a high school stadium type in a neighborhood type shit.
Which again,
like it's crazy.
That shit is cool too.
It is cool. It's very cool. I say that with all the
in
respect.
the trenches. You of the people.
Yes, literally. Like there's stuff I've never seen an NFL stadium just like in a neighborhood like that.
Right.
Because it's usually around a metropolis or it's in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But to that point, I don't see them being able to survive a move like that, because you talk about knocking out residential homes and shit. Like what?
I mean, like you in Buffalo, where else do you go besides across the border?
True that. And that would, and that could possibly spill out to the Bills moving to Canada. You never know, to Toronto. I don't want to speak that on that city. I don't want to say that, but it's possible.
That's something the NFL has wanted for a long time.
And that would be the perfect way. Because, man, these corporations get off on the bend, don't break of what they want, the things that they want to change that they can't. They just lean and lean and lean. And if this is a thing that they've been wanting forever, they're going to grease them wheels so heavy, bruh, to make sure that shit just runs through. And Buffalo, sorry, Buffalo.
NFL wants out of
Thanks
Buffalo
for the memories.
so bad.
And Toronto's like a baby New York City.
And
so
it's right there. They want out of Buffalo so bad.
And they be expanding their product across the continent at least. Being able to make it more of a global game and all that kind of shit. That's people love that word, globalization. So
that is their goal too, which I still have my doubts about whether that'll ever actually happen. American football is such an American thing.
Yeah, it's very niche for us.
Yeah, like college sports. College sports doesn't exist in any other country in this world. I don't know if you guys knew that out there, audience, but
I wonder why, Dub.
It's a uniquely American thing.
I wonder why.
That's
As we're about to find out.
It's another 5-hour pod about why that actually is. But I wanted to talk about NIL, the big boogeyman of college sports. The shit is crazy. So I wanted to ask you, BA, as someone who monitors markets and things of that nature, about the current setup of how collectives are run. So for those of you guys who don't know, collectives are alumni started or business people started groups that sole purpose is to support the athletic program of whatever school is closest to it. Most of them are run and kind of, I guess the money comes in from memberships of, say, BA, he wants to support his school, he joins the collective, the membership is $250 a month, gets a bunch of shit, gets access to parties and things like that. There's kind of a worry building up that this model won't sustain itself because you're asking so much of the fan to pay the bill for these things that are coming due. BA, what do you think about that? Like the actual collective model as it stands, of it being fan funded for the majority of it right now?
I think that it kind of has to be that way. And I think that's honestly, as I kind of hear you break it down, that seems like the more appropriate way to do it. It's like a for us, by us type of vibe if you let the fans do it. When you get these, it's because essentially, let's call it the collective are boosters, which is what NIL is here to stop, to my understanding of it, at least, because of how heavily involved boosters were to create sanctions on these universities and kind of tie them from getting talent still through college football and basketball, the big sports that draw in money for the NCAA and these universities that kind of keep it all at the top. So I would say that would be a good thing, Dub, if the people kind of controlled that more versus these rich ass alumni that don't got nothing else better to do than to try to act like they are important people of their university they went to school at and gave money to say I went to school here.
I mean, I agree. Like I think the NIL, like the collective model, is kind of good the way it is if it's just fan supported.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about just kind of as the world turns, and the talk on the news every day is everything's getting more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Inflation ain't going nowhere.
At what point does your wife look at you and say, "Why are we paying $200 a month for your alumni collective?" You know what I'm saying? That's
a great discussion, Dub. That's a very astute take there, because that's happening in a lot of households right now. This is what I do for a living. There's two things happening right now. The cost of things is going up still, even though inflation is slowing down. I put big air quotes around that. This is an audio podcast. And the fact that incomes are not increasing, there's not raises being given, and people have to do more to just keep the baseline what it was. There's no way to get ahead is why I say that. Usually back in the day, of the middle class, so to speak, and this is who I speak to in that collective, because get where I'm going here, because you're probably like, how does that even matter to the person that's giving away that? Like, that's not that person still, like, that has that collective of $200 to toss towards a collective for their alumni trying to get different players paid for the school they went to. So the middle class as we knew it, that I believe you and I both grew up in, is essentially been erased, right?
Yes.
It's gone now. It's not what it was. It's not coming back. It's never going to be what it used to be. So the lower class is basically just lower class and upper class now. And what's happening is the lower half of that upper, what would be considered upper class, people that aren't hurting right now, that could play that game and do that kind of stuff, are getting a rude awakening, because they're becoming what I call the new middle class. Right? Because this is all happening by design. Everything happens by design, y'all. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, just walk out the door and just stuff happens just because this is just how my day went. Some things are like that, but most things are designed and put in a certain way for things to only happen a certain way in your life. And I say that to say what's happening now in our country specifically, I can't speak to the world, but our country is, we had for these next couple of years, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be survival of the fittest. Are you going to be in that lower class, or are you going to get to hang out with everybody that's not really bothered by everything that's happening in the world, at least not being discussed about on the news? Mm-hmm. So with that said, man, it's to that person, they're gonna have to. That's the rude awakening of, I'm not that guy no more, or gal that was able to support my school I went to. So it's it just further speaks to that discussion happening, to kind of turn the conversation differently.
And you add on that, and you also have the worry of donor fatigue too.
Hell yeah.
BA,
yes.
You're an Ohio State fan, right?
Yes, I am. I grew up an Ohio State fan. So
I've been doing research into Ohio State and their collectives, work-related stuff. Don't worry about it, guys. We're moving over here. They have the most sophisticated NIL collective program I have looked at, and I have looked at a lot of them.
Makes sense.
And it's been reported that they've raised $17 million in NIL through their collectives, and that's just for their football team, because they're sick of losing to Michigan.
You know what? That little jab, I'm gonna take it, and I'm glad to hear that.
No, it's not a jab. It's the truth.
It's the truth, right? So I'm saying, I was like,
let me ask you this question.
This is kind of true.
If you're one of those donors and you feel good about it, you got your cape on, you throwing $1,000, part of that million, like yeah, we're gonna beat them this year.
Right.
What if they lose again? Donor fatigue is a motherfucker.
Yeah,
and it happens quickly.
Because those dudes, think about, let's talk about that person first. Think about that person that's giving that. Let's talk about the $1,000 guy, right? I gave $1,000 to my collective because fuck Michigan, right?
Right.
So next day, 2 days after Thanksgiving of 2024, he's watching the game. Immediately, Ohio State starts to take an L. Immediately, things go left. That guy is
TV.
That motherfucker's on the phone with Gene Smith, or at least whoever has access to Gene Smith, to be like, why am I giving you money this year? Why am I doing this? Like, that person, I say that to say they are having the biggest reaction to what's happening in front of them.
Yep.
Because it's not just a game for them. They've been bragging about this because this person's kind of an asshole. Let's just be real. If you're this guy, you're not somebody that I'm thinking of like, man, I can't wait to hang out with that guy because this is what he gets off on.
And your wife was, she's cool with it because you guys are doing okay right now.
Yep.
But again, like you just said, things are starting to change a little bit. Next year, you're not necessarily that guy who can just toss a stack. And the first thing she's going to do is look at you and be like, you want to do what again?
Right. For what? How does this benefit this household financially? And that's where the buck stops. No pun intended. Because no financial benefit. It's literally just, like you said, put your cape on and be able to call your buddies and say, I just gave $1,000 to the $17 million fund that exists to make sure that we keep on paying our players and bringing in top talent. Like, crazy.
The moment you get that call, like, hey, where your $1,000 go, buddy? So you drop that pass again?
Yep.
You're gonna be calling somebody, then next thing you know, your 1,000 disappears, your buddy's 250 disappears.
Yep.
Your little cousin who wanted a membership to the collective so he can get a hat, that's not happening next year. Those are the things I think about, like, as this model continues. But then I look at, like, what's next. So I also did some research on Utah's collective. I forget what it's called. The use or something.
It's irrelevant.
Whatever. Their collective has an app that has exclusive content from the football and basketball team, whether it be interviews, funny stuff, practice stuff, or whatever.
And this is their collective, correct?
Their collective, yes.
Got it.
Their collective partnered with an app company that is headquartered in Salt Lake City called For the Win to develop this exclusive app that you have that is free to download, and you get exclusive, stuff like that as long as you're a part of this collective.
Smart.
To me, that's what's next, because that's
the smartest way to do it. Yeah, because not a lot of resource in that as far as cost.
Exactly. And I'm gonna put y'all all up on game. If something is free, that means you're the product.
Thank you to what I said to start this discussion.
Boom.
Yes.
And on this app, you know what they can do on this app, BA?
Add their information.
They can grab their information, and the app makers can sell advertising.
Oh, kind of like how Facebook did us when we was in
Boom.
college and started like, oh, why do they have advertisements? That's weird. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let me write on Dove's wall real quick.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, captive audience. Facebook was a magical place when you had to have that .edu to have an account. Man,
it was real life a magical place.
When it was just about smashing that chick that lived across the quad.
Yep.
There was no apps. Yep. There was no walls. It was just vibes.
You just erase stuff and not worry about it like still being visible somewhere.
We was out here just moving around. There was no statuses yet.
Yeah, no statuses.
Statuses came around when we was in college. Yeah.
Good point. Only thing is you had to put down if you were in a relationship or not. That was the only thing. That was the only status that you had. There was no like, oh, I hope you have a great day. None of that.
Yep.
Shit. Like.
And then as we was going, they added you can tag someone to be in the relationship with. And then they added the it's complicated thing, and everybody was tagging that one. All right. Now, let me reel it back in a little bit. Reel it back in.
Very easy, though.
Just think about how magical Facebook was once upon a time. I miss the old internet.
Dreams.
Anyways, so, yes, this app, you can sell advertising. So, BA, I don't know, you're Ford. You got a brand new Escape hybrid supercharged OJ Chase edition coming out, and one of your test markets is Salt Lake City, Utah. I come to you and I say, yo, I got 1.3 million people in the state of Utah on this app. They're interested in cars because they click on the stories that have my Utah players in cars. How much is that worth to you?
I'm going to say this. It's worth a lot to me in Utah, but what about the other randos that live all over the country that are tied into this? What do they care about my dealership? Would be my question.
I'm glad you asked. So, what I can do for you is I can look at these people and I can tell you when they're traveling to Utah. So that way you can,
lay it in when they, because what is the name of that stuff that like guard, like there's a certain word in advertisement, internet advertising, like you can't go past a certain point. Like, for example, if somebody were to pull into my like one of the branches for the bank I work for, like a customer, and you can get a notification on your phone when you are around certain things that you've either been to or that you have a login for or something like Wi-Fi. So there's always been discussion of in banking that when you pull into a bank, the app should open up automatically, like when you pull in type stuff, to just be like, hey, like if you're gonna come in and have an appointment, kind of like how when you go, or at least when COVID was happening, when you had to like set an appointment to go somewhere that you didn't have to in the past, like it would pull up on your phone or type stuff like that, or you could just pull it up on your phones. But what if it did it automatically? So to that point of the Utah thing, is there law around that not being allowed, like as far as data, or no?
So there are new laws about data collection and things like that. Most of them are like, if you're collecting user data, you have to let them know and they have to agree to it 100%. And I mean, that's the whole thing that Google and Facebook and Uber fucked up for everybody. But I say that to say, I think because you have such a captive audience and sports fans, that they wouldn't blink twice of saying, yeah, whatever.
We do it ourselves. Yeah. When we click on terms and conditions, that's data collection shit in there. Buried in it. Guarantee it. That's why it's so much. Like, because we can do whatever we want because you want to use this iPhone or whatever the fuck it is. So, yes.
Yep. Now,
to that point.
And it's funny, I was looking at this app for Utah's Collective. They don't collect data.
Yeah.
If I was running it, they 100% would.
Oh yeah.
Because as we know, data is worth its weight in diamonds.
Yes, it is, because of because of what it can speak to for a business that's trying to get a hit on a certain market. Because
imagine like you want to reach affluent people between the ages of 30 and 55 that live in Salt Lake City. Boom. You go to this company, like, all right, well, on my app, I have people, I get their income level, I have their age, and I can tell you what stories of mine that they click on about these players, what things they're interested in as far as Utah Athletic goes and my other partners, so you can better partner with other things in the area to reach these affluent people. I can give you all of that data for a price. Now, if I'm this company that wants to reach this affluent market base, that price is, whatever it is cheap compared to what I would spend if I was just trying to mass market and hope I hit these right things. If I have the actual data and I can say, oh, the affluent market, they click on the stories about the football players doing a Make-A-Wish. Cool. Guys, next quarter, we're doing 4 Make-A-Wish events here. And then, matter of fact, get with the collective, get some Utah football players out there, and that's going to cost me a couple thousand for the football players. The Make-A-Wish people are just happy you're involved, make some kids happy, and guess what? I got my captive audience now.
Yep, it's a win-win from that perspective, just to spend whatever that fee is. And like you said, that price is always going to be the cheapest in the long run because you got your market. You don't got to experiment. You don't got to keep spending money. Yeah, you could hit it on just doing just that one mass market advertising, but the likelihood,
that's a dice roll.
Point got to be like basis points. It can't even be a full percentage of a chance for that to just hit and get the same effect that you would get if you pay whatever that fee is.
To bring this whole thing full circle, that's what they're doing in Utah. Mm-hmm. Now imagine if they did this at Ohio State.
Oh, it'd be disgusting. It'd be disgusting.
School with a much bigger, much more national fan base.
Probably working on it right now to that point because it's becoming such a conversation. This NIL stuff, like it's in the headlines. Like it's a part of the discussion on the top of the news cycle in sports. Like so. Why would it not? Especially when they do that first like E60, if that show still exists, on the NIL collective and how crazy this shit is below the surface of what people talk about, which ain't a lot about it outside of when a head coach that got a name behind him say something. So it's interesting, man, because it's such a lightning rod for discussion and opinion on something that we're figuring out as we go. Absolutely. And people want answers right now and want this shit to be right, but people got to take L's before we really know what it's supposed to look like. To that point, I got a question for you around that, Dub. How many L's have been taken so far? Like, is it egregious amount of like people fucking up, or is it like people wanting to do certain things and trying to get policy in place to get it done? Like, what are you seeing more of in that light?
So there was the kid, I want to say he was going to Florida, transferring in. He had deals on a table with his collectives for a few million, and either he ended up changing his mind or not getting into the school, and it became a big deal of like contracts of, did he get this money? Did he not get this money? What was he supposed to do for this money?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, like I've seen a few cases of that happening. There's the one kid who transferred into Iowa, I want to say from Ohio State, and then like just recently transferred back. The joke was, he transferred to Iowa to see Caitlin Clark play and then transferred back. But he had a deal on the table from a collective for a couple $100,000, and it became a question of, well, did he get this money? What's going on? And I'm sure like the collective had like their donors calling like, yo, this kid is transferred back. He ain't do nothing. Y'all didn't give him no money, right? And they had to put out a statement saying, hey, we didn't give him any money yet, so obviously he's not going to get it because he transferred back. What I'm seeing a lot of is like things like that, and then there's also the stories of these deals not being upheld by the collective end.
So that's big trouble on that side of it, I'd imagine.
So who was it? Jimbo Fisher, not Jimbo. What was at Florida State? There was this big like thing about, they pay for all their players, and like that's why they had one of these top 5 recruiting classes. Players are coming out starting to say like, hey, I know what y'all was reading in these headlines, but we ain't getting no money. We was out here just living as broke college kids in Tallahassee, which I've been to Tallahassee. That don't look like fun to me.
It's a little rough.
That's part of what I'm seeing is like what's being reported is not always what they're getting, which I want the guardrails to be in, which is, I have this huge problem with the NCAA of how they wash their hands of it and say, hey, states, schools, you guys figure it out, because all we were trying to do is make sure the kids can't make money. Supreme Court said we can't do that anymore, so you guys figure it out. So now it's literally the Wild West out here, and that's why you see the value of things be so skewed, because if you're a football player and you do 4 or 5 appearances at Make-A-Wish and at like alumni barbecues, is that worth $500,000?
I would say hell to the no. Especially at Make-A-Wish. That's non-profit.
But then it
Nobody.
is. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I see what you're saying. Because there's the market isn't set. That's the problem. That's the problem.
And let me put this out there. I don't want any like limits to what people can make. You make as much money as you possibly can in this game. Man. But like the valuations of what you can do and what you can get paid for are so out of whack. Mm-hmm. And then like sometimes you're still dealing with people. Mm-hmm. So some people aren't getting paid. And these kids, they're 19, 20, 21 years old. They don't know shit about breach of contract.
No, so they just let it ride. From a
choice in the matter. Like,
from a legal standpoint.
You run a full class load, you running, you got your sport going, you got your own social life going, and then next thing you know, a collective hasn't paid you what they promised you. You don't have time to deal with it. Two, you don't know shit about shit. You was asking to go to the bathroom a year ago.
That's why you gotta hope that there's a parent that cares enough to kind of be the point person, and the kid don't gotta worry about this stuff, so the kid can do all the stuff you're describing and not have to worry about the adult stuff in this, which has created such a gray area around college kids making money more than what these scholarships provide. So that's where the hope is, and I think that's where this would become an easier thing to get to where everybody wants it to go. Is the parents got to be more accountable over what's happening with these kids. Parents always want to show up when it's draft day, when it's heyday, when it's time for these kids to get some sort of notoriety. Parents want to be there, but there has to be more accountability. There has to be things signed to keep parents at more of a responsibility, where if a kid does end up getting got by some scumbag, parents should be liable for that too, because you let it happen. Like, you let this kid talk to this scummy ass adult that talked him and sold him a dream. Where were you at while this dream was getting sold? Somebody's got to have some checks and balance in that part of it too.
That's a lot of what I'm seeing in the failings, and it's a tale as old as time, especially with college sports, is that the adults in the room are failing the kids.
Yes.
And that's always been my biggest issue in sports, not sports, but college sports, is that the adults in the room are not doing right by the kids, but the adults in the room are the ones that are getting rich.
And that's where the liability has to come into play, because if y'all just gonna benefit without any sort of risk, that's bullshit, because any investment involves risk, right? If you want to make the money that it should come from it. More risk, the more money you can make from it. Period, point blank. Could talk about stock market, could talk about buying a house, could be talking all sorts of stuff. That's just what it is when it comes to investing. So to what you said, if I'm a parent and my kid's talking to these people, I'm gonna want to be involved, period. 100%. Because what if my kid isn't getting more? Like, my kid could be making more if I was in the room, or whatever it is. So yeah, man, there has to be. That's the part I don't think is, and you tell me if I'm wrong on this, is not being heavily discussed around NIL, and how do we get this to a point where it could be more of a self-setting machine versus, let's call it what it is, this clusterfuck of what is this? Who's making money and how and why and how much, to the point of what you said earlier. So is there any like discussion around parents or some guardianship, like putting a person there, like a department maybe even at the universities, for like a human being to be there to like kind of be like the gatekeeper for the kids?
Yes and no. Some universities have like full NIL departments with 1 to 2 to 3 people on their staff, and the kids go to them with contracts and things like that, and when brands reach out, they tell them how to like get in touch with kids, and for example, for that. But in most universities, the answer is no.
Because that's probably like your Ohio States, like you just mentioned earlier, your big programs that can afford to have all of these liberties in place.
Yep.
Whereas like a Utah probably doesn't have that. to that example earlier. Yeah.
Right. Like, so some do, but then like some are just like, some of these kids are just, relying on their parents or somebody they know that might have a law degree.
Yeah, that's rough, man. This is the Wild West.
Yeah. I mean,
no doubt.
There's agents like me out there. I mean, some are reputable, some aren't. Who
True.
Like, I'm fighting for my kids every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even with my kids, I see like sometimes, we're talking to the parents all the time. Sometimes the kids is like, no, I got it on my own. I might let compliance read this, make sure it's cool. But no, they're like, I got it on my own. And we're like, you ain't got nobody want to read this? You got nobody? I mean, we want you to trust us at the end of the day. We're going to fight for you. But
right. We should have an adult you trust.
Yeah, we want somebody outside of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That brings me to another question, Dub. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got to get this out.
You're good.
Is there some talk of an organization, so to speak, to look over everything? Like to kind of work in concert with the NCAA?
No.
Like the NILA or something is what it should be called.
No.
That's what needs to happen. And that's the problem is like, it's hard to have this thing that in itself is its own entity run within an entity that doesn't operate in a black and white in the NCAA. That's the inherited problem is the NCAA.
So, the thing that's happening now in Congress is the NCAA is asking for antitrust exemptions because they don't want to pay the kids, and I'll get to why that's important. That is like their only concern right now, and they want the federal government to come in and set some standards behind what this should be. And most congressional senators are like, we're not going to bail you out of something you should have done 50 years ago.
Thank you. And you
need to figure this the fuck out on your own.
You're a private entity,
and
non-profit, I believe.
The NCAA
correct?
is like, well, no, like our only goal was to keep kids broke. You're the one that said they could get money. Like, yeah, because you saying they just had to be broke is kind of sort of illegal. So we're not gonna help you fix a system that was completely broken. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna tell you that the broken system was broken, and you can't do that. You need to handle your own problems. Right. But the NCAA is like, but this antitrust exemption though. And again, the federal government is like, no, and they keep saying like, well, why do you keep asking for this instead of addressing all the other problems? And the NCAA can't say the quiet part out loud that they're being sued for TV rights money, and they're probably going to lose that. And we're talking about
big money,
of billions of dollars in back pay that they're going to owe to God knows how many players. Because when that happens, it's a wrap.
Yeah, so that's a great segue into probably the NCAA being over as, and this is what's gonna happen, man. There's gonna be some sort of new NCAA over the Division I side of things, right? And then the old school NCAA will look over your D2, D3, and I think there's also like a segment. It used to be 1AA, but they consider it something else now, tied into the
football sub bowl division.
Yeah, that'll be tied into the D2 and D3. Because to your point, if they have to do that, then NCAA is bye-bye. Like they can't sustain themselves. Mm-hmm. So what that's going to happen is it's going to create a whole new monster to where now they can finally add this leg on it where NIL can come in and make sense. Now these kids can make money because now they got to make money because y'all just paid every player since 1980 something a check that had their name set on TV during a bowl season. Like that's going to be wild. So to that point, after that, they erase that and wash that off their books some illegal way, but it's legal. You feel me?
Oh, no, I feel you.
That's when your new NCAA, NILA, which is going to be meshed together to finally make shit right. Until then, this shit is just going to be crazy. Y'all are going to be, it's like I think of The Walking Dead when I think of the NIL. And I'm not saying it because it's gonna die. I'm saying it because it's literally it's guerrilla warfare. Like, you could go to work tomorrow and Mark Emmert can say some dumb shit and your job is completely different. And you don't know that until you sit at your desk. Like, that's crazy. But to my world, to like in the comparison, that's where if tomorrow, like there's so many bubbles that can pop in the economy. Let's point at the debt crisis. If somebody said the government got to pay back their money to China now, or else they could shut down the banks or something because China owns U.S. Treasury, like notes and shit like that, which is dollars at the end of the day. So you do the math on that. So I could go to work tomorrow and all the banks could be shut down. Not fear mongering by any means, but these are things that can happen. So that's the equivalent of what I think about with the NCAA. It's way more volatile on y'all side, to the point of what you said of the $500,000 example. So because that's very fucking real. Like, you could, like, y'all could sell a dream to some other kid for that, and then another kid it makes no sense for, but this other kid somehow, some way, because of how just situations exist, this kid getting paid that money would make sense for y'all organization. So it's so crazy, bro. And there's so many different webs getting woven within it. It's a madhouse. It's a house of horrors. Like, I don't know what else to say. It gives me anxiety when I think about it, honestly, bro. Because it's too much what if. I work in the world of what if. I couldn't do it.
I think once every couple of weeks, the NCAA is back on Capitol Hill, making a new testimony to Congress and answering questions. Mm-hmm. I read those with bated breath every week, and I'm like,
yeah, that's how, like,
what's gonna happen now?
Yep, that's how I feel when the Fed meets. Like, it's the same shit. Like, all right, what we gonna do? Y'all gonna do what y'all supposed to do, or it's gonna be some other shit?
For example, about that, Tennessee got in trouble because their collective was offering money to kids as an incentive to enroll in the transfer portal, which is like against one of their only rules of this NIL thing. Because, like, getting money to enroll, that essentially means you're enrolling because you're an athlete and you're getting paid to be an athlete, and that makes you not an amateur anymore, right?
Correct. It's incentivizing it from the universities. That's a conflict of interest thing. That's a big overstep on that. The
school was going to get in trouble. The collective was going to get in trouble. And then the kid was going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. Collective took them to state court, and state court said, no, you can't do that. If the collective wants to pay a kid as an incentive to come to the school, they can do it.
I see where this is going.
And then the state court of Virginia said the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So the only teeth that the NCAA had in this NIL enforcement was that you can't pay kids just to come to your school. Mm-hmm. They don't have those teeth anymore. So if you thought it was the Wild West before,
it's fucking even worse.
It got even worse. Now everybody got guns.
Yeah.
It's not just the Cowboys and the bank robbers. Everybody got guns now.
And half of them, like, somebody might shoot their face off is the problem there. Yes. That's the big problem there. It's gonna be a lot of people shooting their faces off. Like, unfortunately. And sorry for the graphic analogy.
The Michigan State collectives had to fold because they had money backing from a venture capitalist, but the plan was to sell X amount of memberships to fund this and just to kind of keep it going. But the venture capital money was going to be there if ever needed. They were well below the amount of memberships they needed, and they had to shut down this entire collective. Part of that was because Michigan State was having a terrible football season, and then their coach was sending dick pics to people, but that's a whole other thing. And then the outlook on basketball wasn't great this coming season either, even though Michigan State got to the tournament. The outlook wasn't great. So that's why they weren't selling these memberships. And again, this collective probably made some promises to some kids that they couldn't, sustain.
Yeah.
Again, this shit's all over the place because the NCAA wiped their hands of it. There's no rules. There's no regulations. There's nothing. It's terrible. I mean, it's great for me because I enjoy
Yeah,
the job, but...
and it's about to say it's more job security for you, and this is for anybody else that's in it too. With Dub is, and my brother's already doing it, but y'all need to be figuring out different lanes that are either going to be created or already being paved, so you can be one of the first cars driving down that lane. And that's all that shit is about right now. If I was in it, if I was in these trenches of this particular game, that's all I would be doing with my free time, is just like, what's gonna come of this? Oh, does this already exist? Oh, it doesn't already exist? Who could I bring this to? Oh, this university might want to hear about this if they're not already hearing about it. So to that point, like, it's excitement too. I don't want to draw this like gloomy ass picture around it, because with the unknown, there's opportunity, and there's a ton of unknown here. So there's a ton of opportunity, man. And people that want to go get it are going to be the first people up when stuff is finally getting fucking figured out and ironed out. But the dominoes always start and end with the government or the corporations. In this case, the government. Once the government says, fuck you, the NCAA, as they fall into the shadow realm, that's when you gonna really start to see... Right. They go, that's where you're going to really start to see some real positive dust shake up from this thing. I think there's a lot of people that are smart. From what I read, from the little bit of stuff I followed through like LinkedIn and other people that have been talking about outside of Dub, there's a lot of smart people that want to have input in this, but they can't have any sort of say or input because of how the NCAA is just trying to pass the buck to anybody before they got to pay the buck. So once that happens, hopefully the smart voices in the room are the loudest voices, and I'll leave it at that.
I can't wait till they gotta pay that buck. It's gonna be fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, man! Everybody gonna love watching it, and that's, man, it's probably gonna be right before this new NCAA football drop, because they actually start paying people. Now, let me ask you this: are the players gonna have their names in the game, like their actual names? If you know.
The way it works now, about a month ago, the NCAA football partnered with a company called One Team Partners. That they're a sports agency. They don't just do NIL. To basically every player in the game is offered $600 to have their name on their jersey and to be like in the game.
Okay.
All you had to do was download this app and, put your information in with your school email and click a box essentially and say sign up, and boom, after that, check's in the mail.
That's what's up.
I forget how much, I think it amounted to like 6.7 million or something like that.
Damn. Oh man. I see where this is going to.
A lot of kids did it. A lot of kids did it off rip.
I bet.
You get a cool little social media thing that says, I'm in the game.
I would have definitely did this shit if I was in college, man. You kidding me?
Yeah.
As soon as I could have.
All my kids did it. I call my clients my kids. All my kids did it.
Uncle Doug.
Yeah. It takes 30 seconds, guys. Go get your money.
Yes.
Easiest $600 you'll ever make. Trust me. I know. I write your deals. I'm making you do way more for $600 than something on an app.
Right.
And what EA Sports is doing is like they're kind of grabbing like bigger name guys to be bigger time ambassadors to do the commercials and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for the NCAA game that's coming out. I guess the next one.
Yeah, it's coming out this summer, I believe. Yeah.
I think going forward, I'm not sure if they're going to keep that 600 or if they're going to up it at all. But that's an interesting thing to me, because I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, they should be getting more than that. They should fight for it. You know how hard it is to get 85 people together on one roster, let alone at all, I think 210 schools in that game.
That's people talking that don't know
kids?
Ball, man. That's people that don't know ball and ain't playing in the game, just saying shit like that. Like,
those
why
are
don't
people
you go
that
fight for that money?
That tell me like, oh, you've never tried to organize a trip before.
That's a great example.
You're going to try to get 10 of your friends to agree on something.
Exactly. That's why they your friends, because they don't all think the same. Good
Let
luck
alone
with that.
6,000 college kids.
Right. Exactly. Whose opinions are very swayable. I say that all the sarcasm in the world. So good luck again with that. So that's.
And you know how many of them weren't getting anything NIL who were happy to get a quick $600?
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm like, people are not thinking about the full scope. Like, you thinking about like oh boy, the Caleb Robinsons and shit like that. Caleb Williams, anyway, I was about to say some disparaging words about this young man, but nothing worse than what the experts are saying about him. But everybody ain't that kid. No. You got your guys that are just on the roster that are just happy to be like, to that point, like, hell yeah, run that $600, not throw that on my fucking social media profile. Like, let's go. Like, and that's exciting. You don't even have to put it on your
social media profile. You just have to sign on the app. They give you the thing if you want to, because you're excited to be in the game.
As a former NCAA athlete, I'm proud to hear that. Like, because I can't get that $600, but go get yours, brother, because I couldn't do it.
You know who didn't sign up for it?
Who's that?
Arch Manning.
Shocking, right? That's because he's gonna be if there was a 1% of the NIL kids, he's in it. So there you go.
Sure. Arch getting money.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Arch getting money. Caleb getting money. Caitlin getting money. Angel getting money.
All them kids are, man. Like, they, to that point though, like, there's so much money to give out. Like, you even got the WWE involved in NIL and all that kind of stuff. They were one of the OGs, right? To get involved in NIL. OGs. They kind of laid it out.
They were like, we're just going to take those initials and switch it up. And we're just going to go to college campuses and sign kids and give them a check. And then, depending on what they want to do in 4 years, we'll give them a shot.
That's so fucking smart, man. That's how I didn't know that's how they actually went about it. I thought they just was like, yeah, you that's not gonna get drafted into the sports that you're playing, come fuck with us. We got you. We'll get you some notoriety.
They sign you, and then every so often you're doing like an appearance for them or something. And when you're done playing your sport, if you want, you have a tryout with the WWE.
If you want. That's pretty dope.
If you want. Yeah. I mean, it's one of like the dope things that the WWE is doing, like, and that was before the TKO merger. After this TKO merger, they foot on the gas, BA.
Oh, big time, bro. They making money, man. I smile, and it's not like I even own WWE stock or anything. I'm just happy they're teaching the business how to do better business. You feel me? And the business is such a 2D viewpoint, if I could use any analogy any better, on how things have always worked in the past, and everything's so copycat in wrestling. So for WWE to be like, nah, so when y'all get big enough in your britches to have notoriety between all your shows, so much so that they're their own brands within the brand itself, let's break these brands off to these different streaming services that now all exist around us that didn't when Vince, or he who shall remain nameless, who is he, as the words of Puck, once that stuff started happening, like these streaming services, get this streaming money, give people the curse words and inappropriate situations in wrestling that they've been wanting since the late 90s and early 2000s. Yep. We are here, dub. All because the WWE has, like, it's not monopolized, but capitalized on the capitalization of being the ones in their industry. They have been the ones forever, essentially. Like, I could call 2001 until a couple years ago when AEW decided to get on broadcast TV, the ones. Like, that's a big head start on everybody else.
Like, they just, like, it feels like they took their top dog status, and instead of like continuing to be a niche, have decided, no, we're big. Like, we're big. This is what we do.
Yep.
And I give all the credit in the world to Nick Khan. Like everything I've read about Nick Khan says, hey, that brother don't lose. And
Nah,
I see it. And
he's smart.
I see it. To get $10 billion from Netflix after getting $5 billion from the CW is absolutely insane. One, like we see what's kind of happening with streaming services, kind of getting NFL games and things like that. For them to say, hey, they want to go all in on this, but the big sports leagues are they're dipping their toe in. They're afraid to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go all in. We'll be the guinea pig to show proof of concept. Because what we know is that 52 weeks a year, we have live sport related content that is must see television. And I just feel bad for everybody else who's going to get into the NBA rights and the NFL rights after this WWE deal starts rolling, and you start seeing like the viewership numbers and things like that, because price ain't gonna do nothing but go up. Adam Silver wants $16 billion for NBA rights next negotiating cycle around. If they don't get that solved before this WWE shit goes around, price of the brick going up, to quote Marlowe.
That's crazy, like, because TV gonna lose out big time.
Very much so.
Big time. So what does TV put on TV if they don't got, like, if TNT don't got sports? Is it just Rizzoli and Isles like reruns or some shit? Like,
yeah.
What do you put on TV? Like the networks are gonna die, essentially.
That's it.
If they don't buy in, wow, they're gonna get have to sell out to sports.
That's it. Like they're
Would this kill network TV as we knew it?
That's part of why you don't see as much original content on like cable stations, because their parent companies are shelling out a lot of money for these sports rights, and they're like, well,
you can't beat live eyes on a product.
You can't.
Ask the Super Bowl.
Yep. So
that's why people spend so much in ads.
I think that's one of the interesting things they're doing. But something that I'm kind of noticing that's kind of coming up now is they're deepening their relationships with their sponsors. And BA, as a guy who sells financial products, your goal is always deepen your relationship with your customers to get more of that dollar. What I'm starting to see more of is more of the commercials around like their the companies that sponsor them. Specifically, Montez Ford was in a Snickers commercial with OTM. Shout out to Scripps, the vibes. And I was like, oh, they're just doing it. They're just putting everybody in commercials now.
That's wild.
The Prime
I didn't even know that.
Is going to be center ring, I think, starting at Mania. At every pay-per-view event going forward.
Good for Logan Paul. I can't even hate on that deal. Good for him.
Right?
Wow. That's huge.
Slim Jim sponsors a match every pay-per-view.
Shout out to Los
Cellular
Angeles.
One has every main event. This is the Cellular one match to go.
Yep.
You see all these things, and I'm like, man, like they're really getting it. They're really getting it. Just put sponsor names on everything. Fuck it.
To the point now, wrestlers are getting the sponsor. Like Cody Rhodes is sponsoring vodka now.
Wheatley vodka nobody ever heard of.
No, ever heard of.
They were like, oh, they cutting a check though.
Oh yeah, I feel you, Cody. Get your sponsorship.
LA Knight's a new Macho Man.
Essentially,
he in every Slim Jim commercial.
That's dope, man. It works, man. Oh yeah, it just works. It just works. That just works.
I just want to see. I want to see it to where like they start sponsoring individual wrestlers. Like, remember how Lesnar had the Jimmy John's logo on his trunks and t-shirts?
Yeah.
Even the WWE ones, because he had that deal for so long.
Yep.
I want to see that start happening. There's an independent wrestler named Swartzy. He's sponsored by Mint Cannabis.
Oh, nice.
BA, when I tell you the last show I was
That's in Michigan.
Yeah. He came to the ring, and in his entrance was handing out free samples of weed.
Oh, you did tell me about, so that was him. Nice.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
And as the match started, he started smoking a blunt during the match.
Nice. This is my favorite indie wrestler I've never seen.
While doing like rest holds and stuff, and he was legitimately smoking weed.
That's like a dream.
And at one point, handed it to the referee.
That's dope. Did he hit it?
And the whole crowd was like, Smoke that blunt.
Yeah.
It was great. It
What?
was fun. Now, granted, obviously they're gonna push the boundaries. They're not gonna have wrestlers smoking weed on TV.
No.
But
we ain't there yet. It's not pure anarchy yet.
I'm ready to see a sponsored RKO, right?
I'm here for that. This RKO has been brought to you by like some chiropractic, some local chiropractic company or some shit. Like
that's the next move.
It's happening right now. Like all of it. The Rock subliminal shit that he advertises.
Yep.
Like he's teaching. I feel like he's putting on a marketing class right now for them. Like, hey, like Vince ain't he ain't here, y'all. And here's how. We're talking about stuff. We talking about products that he didn't create that is being advertised on his product.
Here's how we make money in the real world. Yeah,
Exactly.
Rock coming back after spending 10 years in the real world, seeing what real money look like.
Oh yeah, he's teaching them how to like run this like a business. I feel like, and Nick Khan, who's always had that relationship with The Rock, like it's kind of, I feel like it's being echoed what he's been trying to get everybody. Or now I could be speculating on that because maybe people for years have felt like this is needed to be happening, and I kind of feel that more than people feeling like, oh, this Nick Khan guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, nah. I think everybody kind of knew this was the next step.
It feels like everybody's kind of operating at like 100% capacity. Like Rock is one of the greatest marketers I've ever seen. He's marketing the fuck out of Mania all the time. Nick Khan is one of the smartest business people in all of entertainment, and you see all the money coming in. And then now Triple H has no handcuffs on him in creative.
Zero.
And they're telling some of the best stories in the past decade.
And it's funny. When the old man finally left, we said it was going to take a couple years before we got to this point of like everything clicking and it all makes sense. And you can tell he has nothing to do with what's happening on TV right now.
Boy, we were wrong.
Boy.
We were wrong.
So, but no, man. So with that said, the sponsorships, these dudes, the Saudi stuff is getting so hot and heavy lately. They got this whole like, they have like an amusement park essentially in Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's what I think of when I hear of WWE World. Like, oh, it's like Disney World, but WWE, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's like a real life Hall of Fame with a bunch of different exhibits and things like that. Superstars will be there.
The mark in me kind of would go crazy over that if I could see something like that in real life. Like, kind of would love it. That
still wasn't going to get me to go to Saudi, but then once they announced they were building a Dragon Ball Z Park too, I was like, fuck.
Oh, they building that in Saudi?
Yeah, that Dragon Ball Z world. Yeah, that's
so
Saudi
they're really trying to win the millennial dollar. That's terrifying.
Saudi is
wow.
They were accused of sports washing. I think they're just entertainment washing now.
Oh yeah, man. They giving it like they are doing all the things. Like to get any person that has lived like, because there's nothing that sells more these days than nostalgia, no matter the generation. If it speaks to something that they could feel, see, smell, taste, or touch from their younger years that remind them of not the bullshit they go through now in life.
Want that old thing back.
Exactly. They will go seek it out. So to Saudi's point, if we're going to ever become an attraction, we got to get these millennials that got kids now and they can connect with their kids at these amusement parks. Like, oh snap, son, let's go ride the Cell ride over at Dragon Ball Z World or the Vegeta ride. Like, that's crazy. And they could tell stories about when they saw Vegeta fight Goku for a year and a half of Dragon Ball Z episodes through their puberty and shit. Like, that shit, that's so smart. I didn't know that, man. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Am I gonna have to go to Saudi Arabia
next year?
That's terrifying, but awesome. Like, but to that point though, like Nintendo World in Japan, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to go see that. I've never wanted that. I've had no affinity to want to go to Japan for any reason until I saw that was being created. I'm like, oh, a Disney World for me?
I want to go to Nintendo World, and I want to see that full life-size Gundam they got in Japan.
That sounds terrifying too. Like real life terrifying, not like financial terror. That's just because Saudi's gonna take all my money. I say that, but a real life Gundam, that doesn't sound like something I need to see. I'll take your word for it, though.
Legitimately built to scale.
That bitch is what, like 10 feet tall? Like
10. No. You remember Gundam, right? Remember how tall those Gundams were?
The bitches was big as like towers, like this buildings.
That's why I said life size. This thing is the size of a building.
That means you can walk inside of it and like
Yes.
I'm sure it's like tours and stuff. That's nuts.
I don't know.
I know. I'm just building it up.
I need to see it. I need to go see it in person.
But I mean, to the point of WWE World and stuff, like, does that get added on to over the years? Do they keep on adding stuff on? Do they send legends over there to kind of talk to people?
Oh yeah.
Oh, for real?
Oh, I'm sure they're gonna send legends over there.
They sending Hogan over there?
Stuff.
Is Hulk going over there and doing a leg drop?
He can stay. He can stay. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're gonna like send legends over there, and then when they have the Saudi Blood Money 5 show, I'm sure WWE World is gonna be the place to be.
They probably gonna have. That's probably where they're gonna have like the venues for their match, like for those events. It's probably gonna be at WWE World, kind of how like WCW used to film at Universal Studios. Yep, that's probably what they're gonna do.
That would be dope.
That'd be smart. But then they couldn't have those big ass stadium shows. They'd be messing up their own money doing that.
Well, you could do the stadium show, but you could have superstars over there all week, and since they're not doing a house show run that week, they're doing shows at WWE World. Nick, call us, please.
They could also
make money together.
Could be like this is like kind of like creating the territories again, where they can have a Saudi territory where WWE sets up shop, and that con money down south goes far enough, I'd say, to where if they wanted to get in that game, now it would be a clusterfuck of sorts, because they have no business doing something like that over at AEW, but they got the money though, technically speaking.
Yeah.
They could send Ring of Honor over there or something. I don't know, man. Oh man, so many ideas.
Nick,
so much sports ideas.
Call us. We can make this money together, my guy.
Please. My percentages aren't large. Just toss me 1% of whatever you're doing. I don't need a ton. I'm not greedy.
No, not at all.
I'm not the old man. I'm not gonna try to take all the credit and your money too. No, sir.
I don't even need the credit.
Oh man, just give me 1%.
Just give me 1%. And just let me be happy in what I'm doing.
All I need is one.
I'll be good. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the homie BA. BA, tell the people where to find you. Let's get up out of here.
Oh, you already know, man. Every week with this dude and E-Ray, and sometimes the wise man on the main show for the greatest Western podcast of all time. Let me book the territory. And then every other Wednesday or Thursday, whenever we drop it, of the BA and Wise Man show, where myself and the Wise Man pick apart old school pay-per-views, old school topics, sometimes movies even that have to do with the craps. So that's usually the spots you can find me, and then running our illustrious IG page. I be just throwing stuff in stories, man, because them shits be funny. That's all I got.
That shit do be funny. That shit do be funny, I ain't gonna lie. If you guys are looking for me, it's ADUB1220 on IG. My Twitter got hacked and stolen, so I'll be making another one of those. Yeah, I know, right? But other than that, I'm running the Embrace the Turn Up Twitter account. It's Embrace Up on Twitter or X or whatever you're calling it now. Yeah, guys. Until next week, we are out of here.
Peace.